most folk really are not rational. The guys who understand that you're not rational have written lots and lots of books over the years about how they'd use that irrationality against yourselves and turn it upon you, in fact, and they would guide you through irrationality into what you think is a new freedom. A new freedom that was designed to make you utterly dependent on the brand new system they're bringing in, called the Great Transition, many other names they have for it too, and you're living through the big transitions of chaos, and you all think it's quite normal because everyone else is doing the same as yourself, mainly because you all watch the same TV shows that you watch too. It's quite fascinating that 50, 60, even 100 years ago, the big boys talked about this, the early behaviorists, the guys that were working with Bernays and others, long before even Bernays came along and Freud. They knew how to manipulate whole populations because they'd been at it for thousands of years. These are old techniques and old sciences. Today it's far better because they've got instant pulse of the populace. They know what you're chatting about, tweeting about, thinking about, in all your emails and on your phone conversations. And so it's far easier for them to tweak us here and tweak us there to get us into the right meme at the right time. And so they're all trending along the same path of destruction. And it's quite fascinating, the Pied Piper idea. That's what it's all about, the Pied Piper idea. And you don't want to be left behind. You've got to be the same as everyone else.
Human beings are social species, organized around collective groupings, bound by common customs and shared beliefs. In communities the size of nations, there is little interaction between the constituents, and therefore, the only thing that binds the people are the ideas they share in common. If those ideas are eroded, the community disintegrates. Jacques Ellul once pointed out that for propaganda to succeed, a society must first have two complementary qualities. It must be both an individualistic and a mass society. Empire wants to shatter the community, leaving individuals with no other affiliation other than as units within a mass society, under the direction of a powerful state, which the elites then control. Divested of his community, man becomes pliable and maladjusted, and thus easily reshaped to fit the needs of the empire.
For we embrace Procyon in its unifying fullness.
The concept of individuality only came out in about the 1700s. Before that, everybody was either a somebody, that was nobility and royalty, and then you had a middle class of merchants and merchant bankers, a few free men, and then the rest were serfs or peasants. So everyone was lumped in as a mass of their own little clique, and sometimes a big clique like the peasants. And then again, too, ever since the Enlightenment, they went right back to trying to force you all back into the mass man. That's all that Marx talked about, the masses, the masses, the masses. And then there were people like himself who were awfully special, above the masses.
Within communities, the strongest subunit has been the nuclear family. For centuries, family and the institution of marriage have been the basic building block of Western civilization. Poet T.S. Eliot once called the family the strongest expression of Western culture. Beginning in the mid-20th century, employing newly discovered techniques of mass communication, empire began to expunge these notions from the collective psyche. And it did so, not through force or sanction, but through systematic propaganda. The first order of business was to destroy the morality of the society, beginning with the individual's capacity to discern right from wrong. Speaking before a crowd of psychiatrists and government officials in Washington, D.C. in 1945, Dr. Brock Chisholm, a leading psychotherapist, identified the new enemy. Quote, "The people who have been taught to believe whatever they were told by their parents or their teachers are the people who are the menace to the world," he said. The strategy to be used against them, he added, was the reinterpretation and eventual eradication of the concept of right and wrong.
When you understand there's a different agenda behind all of this, to utterly bring society down until you have no idea of what any kind of normality is, never mind affection or love or anything else. This is an attempt to utterly destroy society. Remember what they've always said, to bring in a new world order, they'd have to destroy all that had gone before. And that primarily meant all values that had helped people down through many, many centuries. They'd have to be eradicated in order to rule each individual on the planet.
Through literature, film, and academia, we saw the steady infusion of relativist ideas. Symbolic leaders in politics and the arts began to tell us there is no truth, and even if there was, that it lay beyond the reach of human discernment. It was during this period that pragmatism emerged as a compelling ideology in American politics. We saw the explosion of mass urban centers, teeming with individuals scurrying to and fro restlessly, yet dispossessed of an enduring collective identity, a culture they could call their own. Behaviorists sprang out of the woodwork with promises to rein in the animalistic tendencies of man, which the bloodshed of the 20th century seemed to affirm. In the aftermath of the Great Wars, institutions like the Macy Group and the Frankfurt School of Social Research, bodies of radical academics, united in their contempt for the old social order, were established, and the war on culture had begun.
This is a total war by a group who've been around for a long time, who look to society and everything that makes society work. And what makes it work makes it strong. And if you are at war, or you're going to war with that society, you must look at every Achilles heel it has and exploit it and bring it down and ruin it completely.